Remember when Bill Murray showed up in that one really terrible movie?
Which one?
You know the one. I can't remember what it was, but all I can remember is it's like, oh, Bill Murray, an actor, like a real actor.
Wild Things.
Yeah, Wild Things.
Oh, Wild
yeah.
Things.
You hate Wild Things, man.
I fucking hate that movie.
You didn't make it through Wild Things, but you made it through Sleepaway Camp. I commend you.
I made it through because
He did it for Aaron.
well,
He
it's
would
not.
have turned it off otherwise, I think.
No, I don't think so.
No?
This was
This was
Wild
better
Things
than Wild
is,
Things?
Wild Things is worse than this.
Holy.
Yes, 100%.
I would argue this is a movie you have to see before you die. You have to. Even if you don't like it, you need to see it before you die.
It's the Remedial Field Class Podcast. Travis and George and Dan. Through the Remedial Field Class Podcast. Take your seat. It's time to begin.
Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
I'm George.
And I'm Aaron.
Aaron, friend of the show, legal expert on the Primal Fear post, has joined us as we present to George the best movie of the year. Guys, we watched Sleepaway Camp. George, how you doing after Sleepaway Camp?
Just way better than I was 2 hours ago.
That's what we want to hear. Travis, how's your Sleepaway
Excellent.
Camp going?
It's doing good, I guess.
Feeling good, Lewis.
Feeling good, Lewis.
Aaron, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here discussing one of the greatest, maybe the greatest, 80s slasher of all time.
We
think
know
it's a
how
fair
Aaron's
assessment.
doing.
Yeah.
He's got a big chubby.
He's been
Oh,
so excited. The sheets are sticking up a little
I'm
too
edging.
high.
I'm ready to rock.
now,
Hey now.
I've been trying to get Aaron on this show for almost as long as we've been doing the show. And when I told him we were doing Sleepaway Camp, he rushed out, bought a mic, and joined us. Like, this is the movie that brought us Aaron, and so I am very happy we did it. I have to say,
Yeah,
this is one heck of a movie. Now, for our listeners that haven't seen the movie Sleepaway Camp, I have to tell you up front, you should probably watch the movie before you listen to this episode.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this. If you listen to this episode, having never seen the movie, I have a feeling you're going to rush out and watch the movie. So do yourself a favor, pause the podcast, go watch the movie, come on back, finish the podcast. But heck, if you want to ride and die with us, that's fine. You're still going to end up watching that movie. So the decision is yours.
It's an easy read.
Yeah, just 90 minutes of just pure wholesome family fun from what I remember, guys. Wow. George, tell me your initial impressions of Sleepaway Camp.
I mean, in all honesty, or like,
No, lie to us.
I mean, it wasn't very good.
All right, good night.
I mean, I'm here to be schooled, I guess. So I have to keep an open mind. But on first watch, but very low budget. Acting was terrible. Just lots of stuff that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And here I am.
Now, Travis, have you seen this before?
Yes.
I know we've talked about it, but I wasn't. We've done that before, and then you watch the movie and realize, oh, you just thought you'd seen it.
Yeah, it was one of those, you mentioned it a couple times, and I was like, yeah. And then I watched it, and I was like, oh, man, yeah, I don't know what I can contribute to this. And yeah, and then I watched it again, and I was like, no, I was right the first time. And then I just watched it again yesterday, and it has not changed for me.
But yet you
But-
feel compelled to keep watching it over and over.
Well, first time, I don't know.
Well, see, I know how you guys,
Yeah,
you and Aaron, feel about this movie, and I watch it thinking, there's a person that likes this movie.
there's a lot.
I want to talk
yeah,
to that
yeah,
person.
There's a lot of people.
Well,
Like,
you've got our
I wanna-
attention.
I want to understand.
See, I understand why people like it.
Do you?
I understand why people love it. I can see why campy, iconically bad movies sometimes have a place in a heart for people. I love a few of them myself. This movie, I understand why it has such a cult following and why it's so important to so many people, but it doesn't hit me that way because I don't have the nostalgia of this. I didn't watch it in 83, right? Is that when it came out in 83?
Yeah.
I remember it coming out, I guess it was like on USA. A couple times I tried to watch it when I was younger. It just didn't interest me, but then when I watched it when I was older, I was like, okay, I understand it and, what it does and what it's for, but it wasn't ever my cup of tea.
I think that showing someone this movie is kind of like a test to see how open-minded they are.
But none of that is why I mean, the subject matter is really not the reason why I didn't like it. It's all the other things you said.
I'm not referring to the subject matter either.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm open. I think if this was done today by a very, I don't know.
Hollywood?
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody who knows what they're doing. I think the subject matter and the story and the ending and everything is there. It's all there.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that the way this movie is made was made for me. Because you know how my hang-ups are.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
And every one of my hang-ups are like...
It's
yeah.
like a bingo card for all your hang-ups.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
As I'm
Aaron,
watching,
you're a
I'm
big
like,
fan of
ugh.
this movie. Do you have a prepared statement to open our audience up to watching a movie that these two just crapped on for 5 minutes?
All I can say is, Dan, is that I'm appalled. I'm absolutely appalled.
I'm appalled, sir.
No, I understand. I understand the division. I kind of expected it. I mean, so the first time I ever saw the movie, I was trying to figure out exactly when it was. It was either 95 or 96. When I was in high school. It was at a, believe it or not, like a co-ed sleepover, and somebody had the VHS, popped it in, boom, everyone went nuts. And from then on, it just stuck. So I don't have the 80s nostalgia for it, but I definitely have a nostalgia for it. That all being said, I think this might be one of the most unintentionally brilliant films I've ever seen.
Mm.
And I don't know if... So this is by a guy named Robert Hiltzik, first-time director. I don't even think he did anything else after this. Had a completely like fresh cast. Everyone that's introduced, Angela, Ricky, Judy, and Paul, it's the first thing they've ever done movie-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. So that's...
And you forgot Ringo.
I
and
did.
John.
And Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike.
Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Tom, Dick, and Harry. And Manny, Mo, and Jack.
I mean, yeah, they're all in there.
They're all there.
But I mean, I don't know if he was limited by money.
I'm sure he was.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I mean, this
100%.
was only made for I think it was, if I remember correctly, $350,000.
Mm.
But I mean, it made millions. Because of that ending.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously. And even if you go online right now, a lot of people call it like an ending akin to Psycho.
Right.
Which is understandable too.
I can see that.
Absolutely. But I mean, I get the I don't want to say hate, but I guess a dismissive attitude towards the film, but I think there's a lot more going on, unless I'm just reading a whole bunch of stuff into it that doesn't actually exist. But here's a question I have for Dan.
Uh-oh.
Is this a regional horror film, and or is this a giallo?
Oh, man. Well, right off the top, Troy Howarth would say this is not a giallo because it was not made in Italy by Italians. So that's a cop-out answer that I can give you and not have to take a position. It definitely has the structure of a giallo, as much or more so than Friday the 13th. Now, most likely this has the structure of a giallo because Friday the 13th made a lot of money, and they were like, hey, let's do that again. But this time, let's put campers at the camp instead of just counselors. So then I guess, yes, I guess it is a giallo. At least it's an American giallo. Now, is it a regional slasher? It depends on how you... Now, and George and Travis, we haven't really talked much about regional slashers.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what do you mean by that?
The thing is, yeah, go
See, let
for
me
it,
just
Aaron.
jump
You
in for a
answer your
second.
own question. That's why we brought you in.
I feel like, and I'm just bringing this up because I want them to know this term exists. I feel like this is like this made-up term by the physical media groups to like sell crappy movies, which this isn't, to the masses, just to give it a nice term. A regional slasher. Not a slasher, but it comes from a specific region.
It's like a wine. You
Yeah.
know? It's not a
Perfect.
a Chardonnay. It's an Oregon Chardonnay.
Or
It's
or
a
champagne.
California. Yeah, exactly.
My understanding of the term regional slasher has to do with the fact that you're literally exploiting the setting as almost a character in the movie. You know, like Satan's Blade. If you've ever seen that one, probably Aaron would be the only one who had. It's set in like a ski community in California, and it feels like I went on vacation to a ski community, brought a camera, and made a slasher movie. And there's a certain amount of like low budget charm there because it lacks so much in ingenuity, and it replaces that with just, hey, look at these cool settings, you know. You could juxtapose that against something like Friday the 13th or Just Before Dawn, which use really cool settings, but have enough going on in the movie that you don't have to lean on the fact that, like, one of the reasons to watch this is because you're from the state it was shot in. You know, like the whole country can enjoy both of those movies. They don't have to be like, oh, yeah, that does look like my hometown. Which a lot of the regional slashers, I think, when they market them, they depend on the fact that you care about where they're shot and what the setting looks like. So is Sleepaway Camp a regional slasher by that definition? I would say no. Yes, all the cast is from New York. They're all very Northeast.
Oh, yes, they are.
But it's a movie that has a broader appeal because they do enough with the plot and with the reveal and with a lot of really questionable handling of different topics that you don't normally handle in a slasher movie. You never have to know anybody from New York or attend a sleepaway camp in the region to be like, oh yeah, they got that part right, so the rest of the movie's forgivable. So I would say no. It's just a good slasher.
Interesting. Because when I watch it, I'm like, oh, this was made 2 hours from my house. Because everyone's wearing a Yankee shirt. There's a New York Marathon shirt. There's Blue Oyster Cult shirts. And everyone's either from Queens, Bronx, or Long Island. You know, so it definitely has that flavor. So when I'm watching this film, I'm like, oh, this was made
Well,
for
and
me.
that might be the thing is like, from your perspective, Aaron, as a New Yorker, this is a regional appropriate slasher. And you wouldn't be able to tell whether or not it plays elsewhere because you can't be elsewhere, right? Like, it definitely plays to you. And if it sucked worse
Correct.
and nobody liked it, you might still love it because, oh, hey, these are my guys. This is my area. But I'm here to tell you that this thing plays nationwide for the right audience. Now, was George the right audience for this movie? Probably not.
So would regional be like a Homer thing, like you're like we are with Halloween?
Well, like
how
you
I
guys are with
feel-
all the Philadelphia movies, right?
Right.
That little extra that you get out of Trading Places that I don't get.
Right.
But
Yeah.
do that on a movie that has nothing else to offer except that
And
it's
I don't
in
see any of
Philadelphia.
that in this movie though. Like this movie could take place in Oregon. Like to me, it didn't really have a regional feel.
Yeah, the only thing about it that was regional was the accents.
Yeah.
And
it was like upstate New York kind of feel. Like it wasn't
That's
really
fair.
even like nobody had like a Bayonne accent or like it was just kind of it was like upstate New York. It
so
felt like
in the show we love maps.
yes. Maps are
So
good.
I was unaware, Aaron, that you were from New York.
Yes, I didn't know that either.
I'm from Long Island.
You're from Long Island.
Nice.
That's where you grew up.
Yes.
You lived there your entire life. You live there now.
Yes,
Wow.
sir.
And
Nice.
here, this whole time, I thought you were like local to Dan, like in the middle of the country. I don't know why.
Huh.
I don't know why.
The internet's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm in New Jersey, and I don't know. I guess people probably think me and Dan spend a lot of time together physically, but we don't.
Sometimes that regional thing adds to it. Like when I think of like a Stephen King movie, or it obviously has that feel, that Maine, small town in Maine kind of feel. With this, I don't feel like any of that mattered. It didn't matter where it took place.
Yeah, I felt like the location
point.
was kind of just
Very
a generic,
Yeah.
A camp in the woods.
But
yeah,
think
I
back
mean-
to the Friday the 13th movies. And when they went from New Jersey in parts 1 and 2 to California in part 3, there's a palpable like loss of authenticity to the setting when they moved to part 3. Higgins Haven, for all of its great Barney features, just is not what we were used to with the first 2 movies. So when we talk about regional slashers, generally we're talking about shitty movies being marketed on the one thing they have going for them, which is at least they were shot in a place. This movie is better than that. It may not be as good as your Friday the 13th as far as mass appeal, but there's something authentic in the performances by having so many kids from the same region interacting in a way that sounds natural to me as an outsider. Basically the acting gets good in this movie when they said to the kids, hey, curse at each other or curse at the adults for a little while. And then it's just like, oh, this is real.
Mhm.
Like, this is how these people
Yes.
really talk. It's authentic. And then it's more regionally appropriate. But is it, the difference is like a Stephen King movie might have a really good main setting, but they're bringing in actors from LA and they're bringing in actors from New York and they're making Maine feel alive, but they're acting inauthentically. Whereas you can tell in this movie that a lot of the dialogue is just like improv, as they're like, hey, Ricky, curse out the old man for a little bit. And he's got sea sucker coming out just right away. He knows exactly what to do. That's like his moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got Clerks written all over it.
But you raise a great point, because in sleepaway camps, at least in New York, and I've been to them. I went to them when I was little. All the campers were from New York, but the counselors are from all over. You'd fly in counselors from England, Australia, like Ronnie. So it seemed authentic in that sense too, but it also lent itself to being able to get these types of actors with the kids all being local, and you'll get these other guys like oh, actually, did anyone recognize Ben?
Ben.
Is Ben the
He was
second?
the
Yeah,
the
okay.
cook.
I know who that is, but
Oh,
I'll wait till
God.
the other guys find out.
The cook, like the original one,
The one who takes
the-
over when the Baldies guy gets boiled.
Okay.
He was in Trading Places.
I feel like I recognized him, but
It's the father of James Earl Jones, Darth Vader.
is that what it is?
Yeah, we talked
That's
about
what
it.
it is.
We did talk
Yeah.
It's like it's like
Robert Earl Jones.
I know you. There's something about you that I recognize. That makes sense, because I'm like, yeah, there's something there I can't place. He's related to James Earl Jones.
Well, he
He's his
has like
father.
the same kind of like perfect for Darth Vader voice. And so one of my notes says that creepy camp cook is funny to Darth's dad. Which is a weird note for
I'm
most
saying,
movies,
like-
but for this movie makes sense. Yeah, the scene where at the beginning, he says some really awful things about ages and how some of them don't matter. And then he says the other guy, you're too old. And Darth Vader's dad is just like, ha, 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 ha. And I want to
Yeah.
throw the movie away at that moment.
But that's the thing. It's like you have an actor like him who was in Sting, and you have Mike Kellen, who's awesome. He's Mel, who was in a film that Dan just brought up before, Just Before Dawn. And you can play them against these kids, and everything just seems so natural. So like you have these different types of I don't want to call it acting abilities, but maybe just like acting. I don't know. I don't know what you would call it,
I wouldn't
but
call it
maybe
acting.
comfort level of acting.
The kids in this movie were not doing much acting. They, like Dan was saying, it's a lot of direction off screen, saying, "All right, say this," or do this, and
But didn't it feel authentic?
yeah, it was definitely authentic. I think my issue with it is being a kid from the 80s, probably the same age as all these people that were in this movie. 83, I was 8, so 8 to 10. There were so many better actors in New York area that could have been in this movie. So
But
there's
they
got to be
wouldn't
other
have worked
reasons
on a
why.
movie for as cheap as these people worked.
No,
So,
you're right.
you know.
You're right. But again, we've had this conversation before because I've done many, many shows with people that don't get paid, and a lot of people in community theater,
Yeah, and they're good.
they're fucking amazing. So it's like we're talking 10, 12-year-olds that would blow away half of Hollywood. So it frustrates me when I hear that excuse, because there's a lot of kids and teenagers, and it's not even excusable for the counselors. Granted, it does show that a couple of these guys have worked before, but they're so overshadowed by the terrible delivery of lines that it's unforgivable. Like when I hear you guys talk about it, it angers me even more, because the passion you guys have and the stuff that you're saying sounds awesome for the movie that I didn't watch.
Yeah, for another movie,
yeah.
not this one.
And I'm like, like I think of camp, and I think of like Evil Dead, and especially Army of Darkness, and anything Sam Raimi, mostly everything in the 80s. It's camp shouldn't ruin a film. For me, I'm not saying this film is terrible. It was just not good for me.
Campiness
Is something that tongue in cheek. I honestly believe that this movie was not trying to be campy. I think,
No, it wasn't.
Everybody
No,
was serious about it.
It was never trying to be campy.
That frustrates.
No. That's the thing. Every single actor in this movie took it serious.
They were Olivia's.
People that couldn't act. No, they all took it. Each of them were so invested in their character. I honestly believe that. I think that's why it works.
Well, and I think that Travis gets hung up.
Because it feels more like you're watching.
Yeah,
it through a
Travis
lens.
gets so hung up on the fact that these are not like good actors using their craft in a way that is like creative and outside of their own being and putting themselves into a character. But there are other ways to act, and this is just going for a more, just chill, relaxed, like say your line and say it like you believe it, and they may not be searching for motivation through like a method acting thing, but it's a kid doing its best to say like, hey, you sea sucker, go fuck yourself, and they do it in such a way that it's like, oh, hey, that's actually how he would have said that in real life if that were him.
Yeah,
it's just different kind of thing.
The lore of this movie for people is it's iconic because it's bad, but the story is so good.
Story's pretty good,
and the ending is so iconic that it really doesn't matter how we present it. You're gonna like it or hate it. It's a VHS release. That's where we're gonna make our fan base.
Yeah.
That's where we're gonna make our money. The theater will get out there, but we're gonna our legs are gonna be in the secondary market. And I think that's what happened with this movie. It became a cult classic because in most 80s movies, that's what happened. No matter how good they were, you had Meatballs. You had all these movies from the 80s where the kids were the prominent characters. You had maybe one big actor in it, like a Bill Murray or whatever, who had to act against all these kids or animals or whatever it was that was in this movie. With this, there really wasn't any prominent actors to carry it, so the story had to carry it, and the story's there.
Remember when Bill Murray showed up in that one really terrible movie?
Which one?
You know the one. I can't remember what it was, but all I can remember is like it's like, oh, Bill Murray, an actor, like a real actor.
Wild Things.
Yeah, Wild
Oh,
Things.
Wild
yeah.
Things.
You
Yeah.
hate Wild Things, man.
I fucking hate that movie.
You didn't make it through Wild Things, but you made it through Sleepaway Camp. I commend you.
I made it through because
He did it for Aaron.
well, no,
he,
it's
he
not.
would have turned it off otherwise, I think.
No, I don't think so.
No?
This was
This was
Wild
better than
Things
Wild
is-
Things?
Wild Things is worse than this.
Holy.
Yes, 100%. Because you know, when I'm watching this movie, I recognize right away that it is not Hollywood.
Right.
So standards automatically go down. Like the terrible acting that we're talking about. It just it's kind of like you have to look past that and so as I'm looking past, you know, the acting and the this and that and I mean, dude, there was like one point where like the cop came out of the cabin and like his mustache is like a completely different color than his hair on his head, and I was like, this is
Well, there's a good reason for that.
That's
Reshoots.
when the movie
Reshoots.
wins.
right.
Oh,
So
So good.
when you see a movie like that, you can't compare it to, it's not The Shining.
No,
you know?
and nor
It's-
would I ever try to
it's
compare
not,
it to.
so
Hi, this is Dan in Post. If you've been with us for the past 2.5 years as we've worked through this podcast, you can see the growth in George. Go back and listen to the Clerks episode. Guys, we're getting through to him.
So immediately I go, okay, first I'm like, okay, this is lower budget. So that's number one. And then, as I watch, I try to, figure out if I'm supposed to laugh at this or not. And it was pretty apparent that I'm like, okay, I'm not supposed to laugh at this. And because I have no context for this.
Right.
I didn't like RoboCop because I didn't get it.
Right.
Like, so I have to watch the movie with with an open mind, and I'm figuring it out as I go. But once I figured out what this movie was, I forgave everything.
Mm.
Like as it happened, I'm like, forgive it.
Hey,
Forgive it.
that's progress,
Yeah.
man.
Forgive
That
it.
is progress.
I've done that many times. Like I have a lot of guilty pleasures from the 80s. The movie like Pumpkinhead, stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
there are movies that I should not like.
On the other hand, Wild Things has no excuse. Absolutely no excuse.
Well, no, because that's a Hollywood movie.
They have all the money in the world. They have the actors.
Yeah.
They have everything.
Story.
And they produced the worst movie.
they blew
It's
it.
so bad. I hate that movie. All right, so anyway, yeah. So I don't want to shit on the acting. I really don't, because
You can't shit on Aunt Martha.
Oh my God, Aunt Martha! Holy
Impossible. Amazing.
which one was Aunt
Amazing.
Martha?
shit! No, that wouldn't do it all.
She was the most evil character in the entire movie.
Yeah. Okay, so when I was witnessing her acting, when I was witnessing her character, I thought to myself, this is a character that I would do in my own home to drive my wife insane,
Mm.
Oh, I hope that you do going forward.
or my child insane. Like, talk to myself and ask myself a question and then answer that
A
question.
Psychopathic.
That is something that I
yeah.
would do in teasing.
She was like a Mary Poppins meets Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
You can watch on the
And-
Blu-ray special features an interview with that actress. It's part of a bigger behind-the-scenes featurette. She is a normal person who realizes exactly what she's doing because she did something and the director told her more. And she said, I don't know that I can do more. And he's like, you're going to do more. That is a directed, intentional choice to make her act like that. And do you know how much respect I have for that woman?
A lot.
whole bag. Guys, watch this movie. Listeners, if you have not seen this movie, eventually we're going to spoil it. Go watch this movie. And here's the thing I'm going to tell George. If you want this movie to succeed in your life, here's what you do. You take that movie, you get Anthony and Shawnee and your wife Meg and your sister who is married to Travis. Get them all over to the house. Make some popcorn. get the kids out of the room and watch it together as a group. Now that you know what you're showing them, the joy that you will have putting them through this movie is the best thing. Like, it's really the real life equivalent of the Ring video, only you don't die in 7 days. You live when you show it to someone else and watch their face as Aunt Martha shows what she's got the string tied around. So good.
I already spoiled it to my wife, so I wouldn't have the joy.
Here's the thing.
She already
She
knows
hasn't
the
seen
ending.
it. She knows what happens. I knew what happened before I watched it the first time, and it didn't stop me from loving it. So, listeners, if we spoil it for you, go watch it anyway. It's still amazingly weird.
What do we all think of the music?
I don't remember the music.
Inappropriately, I would say inappropriately accurate. That's how I would describe the music.
Interesting.
Yeah, the music is, to me, just so on the nose.
So good.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all strings. It's all strings. There's no 80s music from any recognizable band. There's no 80s montage. The music doesn't date the film. And I think that was an intentional choice. Kind of like what's the comedy? National Lampoon's Animal
Vacation?
House.
Oh, Animal House, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently in that movie, they wanted to make sure that the soundtrack played it straight.
Right.
So here, I mean, when you hear that brass horn in all the bad places, it's a nice little. You're never gonna forget that horn as long as you live now.
Yeah.
There's a lot about this movie I'm never going to forget.
It reminds me of the Just
Especially
Before
the
Dawn
trombone.
whistle. You know?
the trombone.
My daughter, who is 7, got a whistle from some kind of like grab bag thing. And it had this horrible shrill, like it could do 3 notes, but 2 of them were the notes from the Just Before Dawn whistle. And so I taught her how to
So
make
good.
the sound from Just Before Dawn. So I'm a good
So
dad.
good.
She hasn't seen the movie, but she heard the trailer so she could emulate it. I'm a fun dad.
Just Before Dawn is another must-watch movie, but not as much to watch as this, for sure.
But also,
Does somebody get killed with a trombone in it?
it's a much better movie. Like, you know,
Well,
Just Before
put that
Dawn
in air
is
quotes.
maybe, I would say that Just Before Dawn is as good as any Friday the 13th movie. So
Probably better than most Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah. But as good as 1, 2, 4. Like, it's right up there.
Ooh.
It's right up there with the same. Like, it's real good. It's actually a good movie. There's no trombone death. It's very scary. And it's well acted, in my opinion.
I like how you skipped right over 3.
3, you know.
1, 2, 4,
It's a favorite
great.
of many.
It is.
3.
Yep.
That's the introduction of the mask.
It's a favorite of many.
It's in 3D.
It
It's
is
my
in
favorite
3D.
Final Girl.
Anyway,
And one of my favorite kills.
So let's talk about the beginning for a second, because they pack a lot of fairly
Oh, yeah.
progressive stuff in there. Like progressive, except for the boat scene. So we get 2 kids growing up in a family with 2 dads, right? We get the introduction of another family where the mom and dad are divorced.
Yep.
Mm.
That's pretty incredible for a movie made in '83, where they
Yes.
treat the subject matter so nonchalantly.
It's almost disarming because it's so nonchalant that on your first watch, you may not catch that any of that is going on.
Correct.
Really interesting.
I didn't. On first watch. Well, actually, until the end. Obviously, in the end, they like put it right in your face, so you can't miss it, right?
Are you talking about the dream sequence?
Toward the end,
What
when
was-
they reveal that the 2 guys were a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but while I was while I was watching the first scene, I didn't realize that they were a couple.
Right.
And you're
Right.
not supposed to.
It was
You're
subtle.
supposed to, like,
It was subtle.
unspool.
And while I was watching the first, the introduction of Aunt What's Her Face, Aunt Martha, right?
Yep.
Mm.
I didn't know that she was divorced either. Did they say it?
They said in the beginning that when they were asked about Ricky, he's staying at his dad's. He's being with his dad. So they implied that there was a divorce.
Okay. Yeah, that didn't even register. I guess because maybe today that's so, like, doesn't even matter.
But there is a lot of exposition tied
common.
into a very few lines at the beginning of the movie.
There is.
And in some ways, that's like, obviously, this guy's not the best movie writer. He needs to work on his exposition. But at the same time, it rewards multiple viewings a lot more than, like, Officer Exposition at the beginning of Halloween Resurrection, who catches you up on everything, you know.
Right.
It exists in the world a lot cleaner than it would if, one of the guys was to stand on the side and be like, let's talk about what happened here. I'm with this guy and those are my kids, but that's actually, it's a more natural presentation, leaves more work for the viewer.
Well, you kind of run into that issue whenever you have a writer-director, because it's almost like that make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich exercise where, giving direction. Like the director already knows what he wants it to look like, he wrote it. And he doesn't always necessarily do what's necessary for the viewer to get them where he's already at.
Yeah, it's
So
the
you-
thing
you-
where a teacher, like a substitute teacher on a sitcom or a kid's show, will do a big math equation on the board and the kid says, well, I don't get it. And they turn around and they do it again. And they're like, yeah, no, it
Mhm.
works. It's like, but you
Yeah.
didn't tell me, you didn't explain. Get that.
Yeah, so if he would have taken one of the hats and then given it to somebody else, and basically been the creator of the story and said, this is my idea, this is the end. This is the end. Get me to the end. This is what I want to tell. This is the story I want to say.
Right.
Instead of like it's his whole show and he might not be fully able, like you said, this is his first and probably last movie. Wasn't able to build that mystery. Although he did a pretty good job at being subtle at the beginning and then showing later the reveal of everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that the subtlety at first
It works.
is intentional.
Yeah, what's funny is the things that aren't subtle is what overshadows the subtlety. Like
Yeah.
the dialogue and the acting is so not subtle. Like the girl, like the girl screaming in the wood, like all this shit that's going on, it's just chaos. And they're gonna get hit by the boat. The kid driving the boat, the kid next to the kid driving, like it's just so much going on.
Yeah,
and you're
with
just like, ugh.
with all that going on, you
The
would
story gets
think
lost a
that
little
if
bit.
there was a gay couple and that's pertinent to the story, you'd know it.
Right. But I don't mind it being revealed later and in subtlety
I don't
kind of
either.
showing
Actually,
it.
I
Yeah, I was fine with
I
that.
didn't. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I like that it was subtle in the beginning. I like that it came together kind of like almost like a Shyamalan thing. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, how did I not
It
see
all
that?
got revealed, yeah. The
You know?
red doorknob.
It's fine. I like it.
Hey, Aaron, this is your first time on the show. What you're hearing right now from George and Travis is the reason we keep doing this show. It's the moment they kind of open themselves a little bit more and realize, wait.
I'm less.
I
appalled.
said.
I'm less.
I
appalled.
said
They're gonna get
right
it.
At,
They're gonna
right
get
at the beginning. Right at the beginning, I said, teach me, learn
Well,
me.
yeah.
Why?
But no matter how long we talk about this movie, I still hate it.
Well, and that's the thing.
So it's
Impossible.
like,
dude, honestly,
Impossible.
but
You don't hate
I
it.
love what it tried to do, and I love the effort, and I love everything about this story. It just, to me, if it was one of those, not even a higher budget, because there's plenty of low budget movies that
Here, let me
I just can't get past some of
just
the
let me
the
just
dialogue. And
let
the
me just
acting.
is it possible to like a bad movie?
Yes, I
That's
like
where
a
I'm
lot
at.
of them. Okay,
That's where I'm at. I like
Okay.
this bad movie.
We did it. We brought George to a bad movie that he can enjoy. My concern this whole time, George, was that you would spend an hour and a half going, I am smarter than this. This movie is fucking stupid, and I hate it. And it sounds like we might have finally got you around the corner to realize, like, yes, you are smart, but this movie is so dumb that it's, like, fun. And then it's not as dumb once you get into it, but then it's still
not as
dumb
dumb.
ff that it's fun.
Because
There's a
look,
lot going on.
so
It's
much
definitely
happened in
doing a
that
thing.
beginning because what we got an obvious death, we got an unknown death, we have a motive, we have weird Aunt Martha, and then we're bringing everyone back to the side of the trauma, right? So
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
he's setting everything up perfectly for it to be a reveal at the end. Also, before I forget, Dan, have you heard of a movie called Sometimes Aunt Martha Does Dreadful Things.
I have heard of that only because it was released on Blu-ray, but I haven't seen it. Is that the
that a
same
pre-
Aunt Martha? Because
is that a
that would
prequel?
be insane.
It's not the same Aunt Martha. So this was a movie made in 1971. It deals with two guys named Stanley and Paul. They have an implied homosexual relationship. Paul dresses up as a woman and plays Stanley's Aunt Martha. I don't know if the director got inspiration from that, but there's definitely some kind of odd correlation going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of
So-
overlap there for an accidental name. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now I have to watch that movie.
It's
Next
interesting.
Travis and George. Travis
Yeah.
and George, but especially Travis. For you to love this movie, you have to basically attack someone else with it. That's your homework for this week.
Okay. No,
Find-
I get
Find
that.
some people that are
Unleash it.
not used to it. It can, if you've already spoiled it with them, that's fine. If they haven't seen it, put them through this movie. Traumatize them with this movie and be the person that traumatized them, and you will love this movie. And
Right.
that doesn't sound healthy, and it may not be. But that's one way that you will find that you do love this movie, even though it sucks as a movie by your normal standards. It really works as a fun
But isn't
party
that the whole
movie.
premise of our show?
I think that
mean,
that the
we've been doing
next, you know how I have that movie club kind of on the side.
Ooh.
My old
Ooh.
coworkers.
Your side chick.
Unleash this.
I think that the next time it's my turn to
They're
pick a
gonna
movie,
hate you.
I'm gonna unleash this on them.
Can you arrange it to where they watch with you? Because it's more fun watching with them in person.
I could probably do it with like one or two
Yeah,
of them,
perfect.
but if it's literally like all the employees in this one store,
Mm.
so no, I can't have them all in my apartment.
Close early and have a screening.
I mean,
This proves
I
my
think-
point. What other movie
I
can
think
you do
they'd
this
kill
with?
me.
What other movie can you do this with?
I mean, I
Crying
I
Game?
could force anyone to watch American Beauty
It's not going to
Uh,
hit like this.
easily. No.
It's not.
I would say like
American
a
Beauty hits
Sixth
pretty
Sense.
hard.
Sixth Sense. If not everybody, like if you come across
Well,
a bunch of people
the
who've never
problem is
seen it,
everybody knows it. I mean,
dude, you watched Dusk Till Dawn and had no idea that there
That's
were
true.
vampires in that movie.
that's true.
So, it's possible.
One thing I would caution with
Mini
Sleepaway
Mag, maybe.
Camp compared to a Sixth Sense, if you tell someone the twist in Sixth Sense before they watch it, they might be mad at you because you've taken their joy away. But if you tell somebody who's reluctant to watch this movie the twist of this movie, and then they still watch the movie, you have taken no joy. They may see the twist coming, but they won't know until they see the end of this movie what they have just seen. Like,
What's
that's
that Kevin
one
Hart thing?
difference.
You weren't ready.
The problem with
They weren't
Shyamalan
ready.
movies,
wasn't ready.
the reason Shyamalan movies kind of became like a stigmatized thing is because he got so reliant on the twist, and he built the movie in such a way that if you already knew the twist, your rewatchability or your first experience knowing the twist was never as good as going in blind. Sleepaway Camp accelerates those weird oddity things that even if you know the twist of the movie from listening to the show or talking to Travis, you will know the experience is unlike anything else you've seen, even if you knew going in that there was going to be a twist at the end.
It's done in a way that you're right. Like you could say to somebody exactly what's going to happen, and they still visually are not ready. Like
No.
what their interpretation in their head is not what's going to be on screen. So again, it's still going to be jarring because you can't explain that face. You can't explain that noise.
Oh, that noise.
You can't explain that body stature. You can't explain any of it, and it's jarring. Like
I mean,
don't know.
You literally have 100 and well, not 100, an hour and 20 some minutes of setup
for that reveal.
for that.
And most movies
So-
are probably made that way. They probably sit there and go, okay, I want to do this.
You're probably right.
How do I get to that point from an opening scene?
All right, guys, Dan in post just going to let you know it's about to get really spoilery in here. So if you want to go in blind, stop, come back. You have been warned.
What do I need to do? I got to work backwards from the naked girl who's a boy. Oh, wait, did I reveal it? Shit.
It's okay.
Okay. Yeah. How do I go from man junk to boathouse? Like, get me there.
Yeah.
And, where does this kid come from? And why does this kid have so many layers?
Well,
then
and one thing,
you write your movie with the layers.
if I told you, hey, it's your birthday, George or Travis, heck, you have the same birthday for the purpose of this story, it could happen. As Judy, what's her name? Judy Tenuta, is that her name that just died?
I remember Judy Tenuta. She died?
She just died. I hate to break the news on that.
Judy. Oh,
Yeah.
I love her.
It could happen, right? She's great.
Yeah.
So you guys have the same
That's what she
birthday.
used to say, yeah.
It's your birthday. I'm going to take you to, we're going to celebrate. And it's a surprise. But then you see, hey, we're going to go to a Phillies game. You see the tickets. And you go, oh, we're going to a Phillies game. And I'm like, well, the surprise is ruined. Okay, let's drive peacefully to the Phillies game, park, attend a Phillies game, and go home, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've ruined the experience because you saw the twist early. This movie does not take a peaceful drive from a boathouse to a girl with a dick, right?
No.
Everything that happens in between
Spoilers.
is fucking crazy. To where, like, one of the reasons you can't spoil this movie for somebody, even if you tell them the twist at the end, like I just did, there is so much weirdness between point A and point B that there's literally not enough time to tell someone all the weirdness to be prepared for. So
Right.
you might know Aunt Martha's there with her big bag of chips. And you might know that what's going to happen at the end is insane, and there's a noise, and there's a body posture, and there's a dick, right? But in between, we've still left out 100 insane things that you can't believe they put in a movie. And it makes
That's
the
true.
ride so much fun, even if you know where we're going.
Like, that ending completely overshadows the fact that she's cradling a head.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you don't even think about or talk about that. It's
Yeah.
like you go right to the like it's almost
Yeah.
like the Grudge. Like, that noise and that face and that body completely takes you away from the fact that she was coddling the head of a kid that she liked.
Yeah.
And I'll tell
And-
you, I've seen the movie, a bunch, right? But not as much as Aaron probably. I've seen it probably 5 or 6 times. And it wasn't until this last rewatching with my buddies that I even remembered that a bunch of little kids get killed.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking horrifying. That shouldn't
and
be
for
in a
you-
movie. And that's like my line that I don't cross. I completely
Yeah.
forgot that that's in there. And again, a year from now, I'm going to forget that's in there because so much else is going on. It's hard to keep track of all the insanity.
Well, this movie I watched probably back when you first started talking about it. And that's one of the reasons why whenever we get into a discussion about a movie that I like and you're like, you find this hang up and it ruins your day and that's the movie you've decided to hate for a month, I sit there and I'm like, you just said that you hate it when kids are wronged, but you love Sleepaway Camp. You just said that you hate when it gets creepy, but you were fine with the pedophile cook. Like, when I watch this movie, it kind of points out all the things that you bring up whenever we do another movie, and you're like, I hate it because of this. And I'm like, yeah, but that's in Sleepaway Camp.
Well,
I
they
hate it because
kinda-
of this, but that's in Sleepaway Camp.
They sevened the kids, so that was good.
Yeah, you don't see the act, you see
You
the
don't see it.
aftermath. And it's not
But you
graphic.
definitely see the pedophile.
But but
Yes.
the thing about the cook that is so gross is it's obvious that he's going to get totally fucked up by whoever the killer is, right? Like,
Right.
there's no doubt they're not leaving any, but at the same
But
time,
he doesn't die.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you don't know he's dead. He could be in the sequel.
His dialogue is
Sure.
so bad. And I mean, like,
He could
explicitly,
be the killer.
he says such horrible things that is a moment where you're just like, I can't believe this is a movie. Like, somebody
Yeah.
made this. Somebody bought this. That person was me. Someone is watching it. That's also me. What is wrong with them for making this movie, and why is it so crazy? And again, it's just it's a crazy stop on the way from point A to point B. Never an endorsement. Still don't know why Darth Vader's dad isn't more angry at that guy for the creepy, horrible things he says.
Yeah, he just kind of laughs them off.
Ho, 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 ho. What the fuck?
yeah.
So what did we think of the Artie injury?
I felt the effects in a movie of this caliber were actually pretty amazing.
Mhm.
Like his bubbling skin and that it looked good.
Yeah.
It looked like he did get scolded by like piping hot water.
Scalded.
So I was just like,
That water was like
yeah, I was shocked.
bad
Yeah.
man.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I thought the same thing. About the like the blisters that were like, like obviously there was like an air pump behind
Oh,
them,
yeah.
making them like kind of like pulse. It was disgusting.
They
And
called
it
them
was good,
bladder-
and it was
bladder-
great.
Bladders. It was a
Yeah,
bladder.
it was great.
Well, and there's so much
Um,
screaming, just like non-stop horrible screaming, just as you'd expect.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Now, I just
Um,
want
It
to
wasn't
raise
enough.
There was two effects, one that I loved and one that I didn't love. The first one that I loved was the snake coming
yeah.
out of
Oh yeah, the nose,
the young man's mouth.
mouth or nose. Yeah,
After he's drowned
garter
under the,
snake
under
would not
the
be
canoe.
in the water, but it was a cool effect.
I don't
And
know
they use
what
it in
kinda-
Jaws. That's like something that happens in Jaws. It's very Spielberg,
Yeah, so that was really cool.
but it's a crab, I think.
And then the bees
ah.
did not do it for me.
I mean, those are real bees.
They are real bees, but they're honeybees.
Well, yeah, and when he
Yeah,
drops
they're
what
not
looks to be
aggressive.
more of a bird's nest than a wasp nest in through the
Yeah.
window. Here's the thing. I speak ill of Black Belly of the Tarantula, a great giallo, because they show what they purport to be a tarantula killer wasp fighting a tarantula, but which is obviously a honeybee like glued to a small spider. It's ridiculous bug mixing. And it's just the right thing to stick in my craw. So I cannot let this movie go without pointing that out, that yes, that's not even a wasp nest, and it's just a prop. But even if it were a wasp nest, those are bees. They would be in a honeycomb. Don't we know what a honeycomb looks like? Like, very silly. But
Yeah, and also if you threw them into a room, they'd be like, "What the hell are we doing
Yeah,
here?
they're not really aggressive.
And how do we get to a flower from here?"
Right.
Like that's all they care about.
yeah, no, it should have been
You know?
Yellow Jackets, and it should have been
Yeah.
or like bald-faced hornets would have been awesome. But good luck training a colony of bald-faced hornets, you know?
That's
So
true.
I have a
That's true.
theory about that. I think it's more symbolic than anything else. But I'm gonna have to go back to the other kills and the
Okay.
Artie injury, as I call it. So
Let's hear it. We
All right.
love a good Wendy theory. Let's go.
Yes.
right, so with Artie, he's making corn,
Authority.
right?
Uh-huh.
Phallic.
Yep.
The boxes in the walk-in. If you look at the boxes when Artie and Angela are talking,
Mm-hmm.
near Angela there's a box that says topless. Near Artie there's one that says tubby. And there's Lil Brave brand foods all over the cans in the kitchen. So
Okay.
they're setting up the backdrop of them kind of discussing what's happening. But I want you to focus on the corn and the fact that when
Okay.
it comes to Angela or whoever kills him, because that's another issue, there could have been two killers, pushes him by his
Yeah.
ass. All right?
Yes.
Waterfront scene. Kenny in the boat or out of the boat. The whole point of getting everyone to the waterfront was to go skinny dipping, right? Co-ed skinny dipping.
Yes.
You have Kenny scaring Leslie in the boat with water snakes, phallic symbol. And then you have a water snake slithering out of his eye, right?
Yeah.
We are going to presume that maybe Angela, or I'm going to spoil it right now, Ricky kills Kenny,
Okay.
either because he knocked off his 50-gallon hat, which is amazing, at the social,
That was
Yes.
an amazing
You're right.
hat.
or because he was hitting on Angela.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the Billy kill scene. That's the guy. I don't think they even say his name in the movie. That's the guy with the bees. Right. So bees
Okay.
Bees for Billy, Batman?
represents, a certain sexual explanation of the birds and the bees. And when
Okay.
you get to, sexuality, you have the queen bee. But There have been studies that show that queen honeybees can actually control the sex of their offspring. Tie that all together with the ending. Do you see where I'm going with that?
I do.
Because
I
what
do.
does
At
Aunt Martha
first-
do? What does Aunt Martha
At first, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's right there. It's in your face. Once you said that the queen bee can control the sex of her offspring, yeah, that's Aunt Martha to a T. At least that's what she's trying to do.
do? Did the
at
director
first when you were
intend that?
Oh, I
Probably.
have no idea. I wouldn't give him that much credit. But it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Well, symbolism is very important in film. So, I'm sure it was probably intentional.
I think if that fact or that study was more
Known.
more well known,
Hmm.
it would, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to think about.
What you should do, Aaron, is you should tell Dan again in detail. Send him a video that he won't watch, and then keep bringing it up during the show.
Yes.
At this point, it's a bit.
And
Fair
then
enough.
he'll shit on it.
I feel like if I watch the
theory.
Wendy theory at some point, that I will let down our listeners who are cheering for me to not watch any more than that
Right.
little bit I watched where they said that phone call happened, and then I could prove the phone call didn't happen, and now I don't want to watch anymore.
I guess.
But it's funny because in that video, it talks about exactly what Aaron's talking about. They talk about all the surrounding products in the fridge when the
Kool-Aid
the Kool-Aid and the different things and
in the walk-in.
where they fit and where
In the
they're
pantry or
sitting
whatever.
and when what's a dream sequence, what's not, what's in her head, what's not, and it's like all that is great, and exact, and you can watch it and go, yes, that's exactly what happened,
It's all there.
and then Dan will be like, but never mentioned it on the phone, so it's bullshit.
Yeah, no.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck.
well,
So
I
now I
think
gotta figure out another way.
but this movie's very sexually charged, regardless of whether or not like the whole bee thing is true.
Yeah.
This is ripe with sexuality, and yet, how many breasts do we have in this movie?
0.
Right.
2, but they never come out. That obnoxious
enough.
girl.
Oh, Judy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Talk about. She reminded me of every time Janice is on screen during Friends. Like you just want to like punch the person next to you. Like she was so over the top Disney Channel's actress.
Yeah.
Like I was just like I just want to mute every time she's on the screen. But that's a success. She did it right because you hate her.
Yeah, Judy
they
and
did-
Meg both very well translate as hateable characters.
They're wonderful, though.
I actually didn't mind Meg as much.
You might have a soft spot.
Yeah.
I might.
But to me, that when I was in the play The Crucible,
Yes.
and I played Reverend Paris.
Yes.
And a lot of people came up to me afterwards and they're like, I hate you. I hated you. And I'm like, success.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
nailed it.
I did it perfectly then. Because if you liked me, then I did not get the character. And to me, that's what this movie does. Because when we talk about acting, to me, that's the good stuff about this movie. And it's probably more the director and the actors giving them background. Because I doubt any of the young kids were making choices. So,
Well, what about Mozart?
Which character was
He
that?
was making choices.
He was the guy that
Mozart,
kept
he was
getting
pranked.
picked on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I mean, like the a lot of the things that
And he made
Phil-
that amazing catch in, what was it, left field, center field?
yeah,
That was a good catch.
Whatever it was.
He's stuck with it, you know.
Yeah.
you can see the stuff that Felicia's doing.
He watched the ball into his glove.
Yes, he did.
It was textbook.
She's clearly making choices.
Which character are you talking about again, Trav?
The main character, Angela.
Angela. Okay.
I think that actress is getting direction and also making choices. But the director could be saying, okay, this is. You could just tell in her face she's making distinct choices on how she's handling things. Like, I'm going to act a certain way towards these people, and everybody else is going to get the stone face. That was fine, but a lot of the other stuff seems to be happy accidents. And I think that the Judy and all that, that character has been done so many times. That bully, that obnoxious like Buzz character, Biff. Like it's every time you need a bully, this is the version of the bully you're gonna need.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like you said, it's so real. Maybe she's just a bitch in her life. I don't know, and she's just playing it at face value. But no one's really making any choices. They're all just basically playing it face value. Even the pedophile cook is like, he's got these just meaty, disgusting lines that when he delivers them, he just reads them. There's no extra creep value. There's
I don't
no
know, man.
delivery choices. He just says them.
I mean, I'm
and they're
reminded
creepy
of
as they are.
I'm reminded of the Rush song that says, not to choose is a choice or whatever.
Well, there's really not much you have to do. Like the creep is there in the line.
He reads
But if
those
you-
lines creepily. He made choices. They were creepy.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's
I
some
think he
creepy
was reading them
inflection
face-
with certain words.
Yeah. To me, I just think that the things that would have made this movie the next level for me would have been to clearly the people were actually making acting choices as opposed to just being.
Would it surprise you, Travis, if I told you that the cook being a pedophile was actually not in the original script?
That would be pretty awesome.
And that was a choice that the actor made?
That would make it better, yeah.
Yeah.
But the lines are the lines, so I
It's
think it's there.
not.
It's not. It's all
I
there.
just made that shit up. So
But think about it. If his lines weren't that blatant, let's say he had regular lines,
and if he was played by Kevin Spacey.
and right, or he delivered the lines, and you're feeling dirty, you're just feeling icky, and he didn't say anything but yeah. But
That's true.
You're getting that. To me, that's what makes a movie better, as opposed to be like, oh, I call them baldies. Like it's just like okay.
No.
Yeah, like I needed a shower after every scene with that guy.
Yeah.
And
and
I
then
was
they
supposed
boiled
to.
him because he's a fucking asshole.
Right. But to
But
me,
that just
I think
sounds like
that
effect. It just sounds like he's being effective.
he's being effective.
That's exactly what I thought too, Aaron. I agree with you.
But what I'm saying, my issues with this movie is that a lot of it's a little on the nose and a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah. So
certainly.
it's like, to me,
Yes.
it would have been better to do that, but actually give more meat to the actor to do things to where you're like, all right, yeah, that guy's a creep, but he didn't have to say that. The dialogue to me.
Listen, I
know.
mean,
George has the face on of it is what it is.
yeah, I mean, the movie that you watched is the movie you got.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
Just trying to help.
Oh my God.
Because I don't want you to think that because I knew before I watched this movie I was gonna hate it, and I knew
I didn't.
I knew after the second watching I still was gonna hate it.
What was the movie that we watched with Richard? That
What
We
what's the
watched
name of
Prom
this?
Night with him.
Prom night.
Prom Night.
Yes,
yeah.
I was getting a lot of Prom Night from this movie.
Prom Night. That was another movie. That was a movie that I thought I was gonna hate,
Me too.
and I didn't.
Yeah, that
I
was
didn't-
one of
I didn't
those
hate
late night texts to
was pretty good.
Dan. Like, yeah,
I didn't hate
maybe
that.
we shouldn't do this.
But
yeah.
I had no preconceptions. But
No,
as soon
you
as,
shouldn't
as soon
have.
as I turned it on, I was like, okay, just this is what it is.
A lot of my shock came from the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
I mean, I had already known the ending, like Dan was saying, but
So-
I watched it with an open mind. And I
Have
was
we
like, wow.
have we talked enough about the ending? We kind of danced around it a little bit.
What do you want to? You want pictures?
No,
I do have a problem with the effects of the ending.
Well, I mean, you've got logistical concerns that you have to work around.
Well, yeah,
Do you know
obviously.
Do you know what they did?
you can't remove a person's head for real. So
No, I
That's
mean
the
more.
problem.
I mean,
I
you
had
can.
issue.
But it's frowned
I-
upon by
yeah.
most jurisdictions. Though,
Right,
again, I'm
yeah.
not an expert on this matter.
With the thought process that this whole movie was based on the ending. Like
Yes.
the filmmaker was like, I have this ending and I want to build a movie around this ending. That effect, to me, should have been executed
Which effect are you talking about?
better. It clearly wasn't the same body as Angela. Like it was clearly a man. It wasn't even like it was not the right body sculpt or silicone pore or whatever. Like it was not even the same person.
All right, let's do an episode of Travis Fixes It, where you tell us how you are going to execute the final scene of this movie and make it better. Go.
Make it better? I don't think I can make it better.
Okay.
I just think the
Rest our case.
body should not have been. It's almost like you do a whole movie with I don't know, who's the guy from let's say Topher Grace. Topher Grace is your male. Okay? And then at the end when you show him naked, you use a body sculpt of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Like to me it was just like, okay, you could have done a better job of matching that body to her, so that when you do the reveal, it still looks like a feminine or a male body, but it's not. It matches the body of the girl that was throughout the movie. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because the sculpt at the end looked like a 6'3", like jacked up, like Marvel hero.
So here's the thing, Travis. So what they did to get that effect was they made a mask and they put it on some college kid that they got liquored up to actually stand in front of the camera and just stand there.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's exactly what it looks like. But it didn't look like Felicia Rose's body double. So
no,
it threw me
but
off.
I mean,
threw me off.
It's a low budget film. I think the inherent appreciation is about the concept of the ending and not
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
The complete execution of the ending, so to speak.
I agree. And the only reason I even brought it up was because I said this whole movie clearly was made for that ending. Like that was the money shot for the director, the writer. This is it. You make people spend $8 or $6 or $2 to go see this movie, take 2 hours out of their life to watch this movie because you want to reveal that ending and punch them in the face with it.
So the only thing that you would do to fix the ending is just get a body double that is a more similar build
to Felicia Rose.
And
that wouldn't have thrown me off so much.
And that's the only thing you would change.
Yeah, no, I thought the ending was fine.
For this movie, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a win.
I mean, there's plenty in the movie I would change, but I'm talking about the very end.
We're already at the end by now.
Yeah, we're at the end.
Okay. So there's other stuff that happens in the end besides that. It's revealed that there was obviously right before the reveal that we just talked about. There was the reveal that the
Is it Paul?
aunt Martha,
right?
When she brings, basically when she receives the baby, brings the baby home for the first time and decides it's going to be a little girl.
A girl, right?
You see that, so you're like, okay, that's there. This is all hitting you all at once, right? And then, but there was a scene a little bit earlier, when what's his name was trying to be romantic with her. Paul was trying to be romantic with her, and she recalls her father's, basically. Right, and then she basically is like, no, and runs away. So that was kind of a big reveal too.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't perfectly clear in the beginning that was a thing. So all of this happening, she comes from that kind of, the two dads family, and then she gets shifted over to Aunt Martha and is sculpted into something else. And she ends up being a killer and, kind of like on full display. How does all of this... Tell me why all of that matters.
Okay. Well, remember in Psycho, they make it a point at the end of the movie during like the explanation period where the doctor is explaining everything that happened with the killer there.
Yep.
He says that, he isn't, like, they go out of their way to say he's not trans or he's not gay. I don't remember the exact
transvestite, not a transvestite.
Yeah, it's not that he is in some kind of like transvestite situation. Instead, it's relationships directly with his mother. Similarly, in Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter goes out of his way to say, Buffalo Bill is not a transsexual, although he thinks he is. Right? They draw these lines to make it a point to be able to present people who are psychotic, but try not to lump in a bunch of people who are not psychotic in with this one case. And so this movie to me strikes me as like a show don't tell. It's not that she is a girl who has a penis. It's that she's raised traumatically in all these different ways, and what becomes of her like sexual identity is one of confusion and violence, where with a proper support system, all of these things individually might have been okay. It's just the compounding effects of all these different things have left her in a situation where she can't handle her not killing people.
What's interesting about that is if it's Meg and Judy actually were trying to prevent all this from happening because they kept on their counselor to not have her talk to the boys. Because Paul would have lived. If you really think about it, he would have lived if he never talked to her. But like there's some kind of like weird sexual awakening where she had to go all praying mantis on him.
It's true.
Did they explain why she killed him?
No.
Well, I think that they
found out that
they have the dream flashback while they're first, like when they're finally making out on the sand, right? And you see the two dads in bed, which is a surprise because you don't get enough in the opening scene. Like the one turns and goes, John, right? That's not enough to know that they're banging, right? You don't know.
Right.
But then you see the part where they're in bed together. But then it does cut to a part that you guys skipped where she's in bed with, I guess, her brother at that point. And there's an implied, like, confused kind of like, oh, is this a thing? I guess she'd be in bed with her sister, excuse me, because she would have been the boy at that point because it's not Ricky because the two dads are still there, right?
Yes.
This movie's kind of a fucking mess, but I love it. And it's fun to try to put it together with the breadcrumbs they give you to try to put together what actually happens in this movie is a lot of fun.
Can I mention a hole that I filled in that clearly probably was not even there?
Okay.
But was
Did it happen on a phone
my
call?
Head.
Did it happen on a phone call?
It was during this movie. For some reason, I don't know where it came from, but I felt like the two guys together weren't so much like two dads. I took it as the dad was having a down low relationship with the uncle or the brother-in-law or I guess would be the husband of Aunt Martha, and that's why they were divorced, because he eventually gave in to that temptation of I took those guys as actual, like they knew each other through the two families.
You're not the only one, because I took it first as I didn't make the uncle or brother-in-law connection like you did, but when I saw the two guys in bed basically, and the kids are watching them, I'm thinking, I'm not sure. I didn't think
It
married.
didn't seem like an open relationship.
No,
it seemed like a down low kind
Yeah,
of
and I don't know. I don't know
like
that they were
an affair.
Yeah,
an affair.
It's still the 80s, right? So I don't know that it's ever established whether the two men are, a couple together in a stable relationship, or two dudes who hang out at the beach, and sometimes when the lights are low, get a little snuggly. Either way, it doesn't really affect the outcome of the movie. But that is an interesting point. That
it does if it's Aunt Martha's husband.
That's
it's not.
true.
That blows it out of the water.
No, but that's not accurate, because John says in the beginning Ricky's with his dad.
Right, and his dad is not one of those two.
Right.
Okay.
So
Are you sure?
Yeah, because Ricky's with his dad, while John and whoever the other guy
watch
is
this movie again?
are at the beach. You're gonna have to watch it again, and you do. You need like a family tree in front of you to fill out who's who. John and the other unnamed fellow,
Lenny.
neither of which are Ricky's dad. Martha, the presumed mother of Ricky.
Ricky.
I don't know for sure that they are in any way like a stable couple or if they are a download couple and they're just buddies in public. Who knows? But either way, you've got the two guys, one of whom is the father of the two kids, one of whom survives and becomes Angela. Neither of whom
Right.
of those two men is Ricky's dad, neither of whom is with Aunt Martha, and they both refer to her
Okay.
as the doc, which is a very weird thing to be near a doc referring to a person as the doc. That's weird.
Oh, that's how they get their physicals.
That's how they get their physicals. But don't
Right.
tell anyone because they wouldn't
Exactly.
approve. And then an interesting, was it you, Aaron, that said that she may not even really be a medical doctor? She just thinks she's a medical doctor?
She clearly is not a doctor. She needs a doctor.
I don't remember.
Somebody mentioned that, and I don't remember one of you guys did. And that's interesting because, yeah, you don't really see her medical degree. All
Yeah.
you see is her insane acting, which now that I know that that was how she was directed, it makes it even better. To imagine, like, trying to be that actress and be like, okay, I'm going to say these lines that are weird. Oh, you want them bigger. How do I go bigger than this? Like, how do I get from what's on the
With a side
page
ponytail.
to this?
With a side ponytail.
Yeah, I don't know. It was she was a little much, but yeah, that it's directed makes more sense.
And more fun.
I wish they were clear as to why she killed Paul. Like, did he not like did he find out that she was a boy and was like flipping out? Like, you don't know. Like, was it a crying game moment? I don't know. They don't tell you. It's just all of a sudden he's dead.
I think
And
anyone that challenged her sexuality was fair game. I mean, you're right. They don't explicitly state it, but that's the only thing I can think of is that she's just so unfortunately confused that she just wants to get rid of the problem.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking about the two killer theory?
It's possible.
Right.
I think it was just done on purpose.
It's
for
even
you to
probable.
almost, red herring or, revealed killer, don't know who it is, so we'll just make you think it's everybody
So
kind of thing. I still think it's one killer.
see, now I'm not sure. And I'm going to posit this. So Mel goes to Ricky.
He beats the hell out of a kid.
Oh, beats the shit out of him. He goes, how are you going to do it
Like
this
what?
time? Another drowning or something worse? I saw you those times at the rec room at the waterfront. You killed him, didn't you? Now, when I heard waterfront, I was like, wait a minute. Angela doesn't go in the water, right? That's the
Right.
scene of the crime.
Yes.
But Kenny dies underneath the canoe. So that couldn't have been Angela. So the only other person that had a motive, when he got his beautiful 50-gallon hat knocked off his head, would be
Yes.
Ricky. Right?
Yeah.
Now we know for a
And-
fact. Yeah.
We know in the skinny dip scene that none of the girls went in the water, right? So you've got a high probability that the killer in the water blending in with the other guys is Ricky, one of the guys.
Now I have to go back and see if
Although-
he's in the crowd.
Although he's not.
He's not in that
part
group.
Of, he's not part of their
clique.
He's not in that bunk. Right.
But
Yeah.
but here's the thing: if Ricky is in the water with a bunch of dudes, they're not going to really take as much note as if any of the girls, especially Angela,
Especially Angela.
Yes,
was in the water.
Any female in the water is
they're all going to know.
going to be noticed.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we
Agreed.
know for a fact Angela kills Mel and Paul. Because Mel beat the shit out of Ricky.
Yep.
So Ricky
Right.
was incapacitated at that point. But the other thing that tipped me off was, remember when they were getting their assignments for the night and Ronnie tells one of the counselors that you're taking your kids on a camping trip by the lake?
Mm-hmm.
He has to get into a car to actually get them to the campsite. And if you remember, two of the kids cry that they want to go back and he tells them to get in the car. You can't have all these killings happening concurrently if you don't have at least two killers, because somebody has to kill those campers up at the campsite and then get back down to where the rest of the killings are happening. So I'm going to say that Ricky probably killed the little campers as well. If you remember, they're the ones that are throwing sand on them after he retrieves his sister
Oh my
from
gosh,
the water.
that's true.
Yep.
That's true, because the little children one seemed so senseless, and it didn't really make sense to me at the time.
It still doesn't make sense because they never pose any kind of like sexual threat to Angela. So I don't actually like that killing at
Yeah.
all. I think it's wrong, and I don't like those killings. I'm like Dan.
And they
I don't like those killings regardless.
don't really reveal Ricky as a violent person. I mean, he is kind of mouthy, but they never really give him any kind of
He
like
does.
anger issues or like blackouts or whatever. Like they never really
He
establish where he
does-
could be one of the killers.
He does always. He says he's going to kill people all the time.
Yeah, but when you're that
For
age, you said
for
that
throwing
a lot.
a water balloon.
Yeah,
You know.
I guess that will be an
Yeah,
establishment
prick,
of
I'm
anger
gonna
issues.
kill you.
Couple of things I
Yeah.
found interesting in the special features on the Blu-ray, which you guys ought to check out that documentary. The actor that plays Ricky just nonchalantly is like, I don't know why I cleaned my blade off in that shower, because they were using his hands to kill Meg. So that's good enough for me to just buy into the fact that Ricky's killing most of those people.
Well, I think Ricky's also in the doorway.
Yeah,
when
Ricky's
Judy's
definitely
looking
in
at
the
him.
doorway when Judy's door opens. That's
Right.
Yes.
But you're not. I mean, you have enough plausible deniability in terms of her build and hair color and stuff like that. Could be Angela, and it's just fuzzy enough that they're trying to throw you off the scent. But it's pretty clearly Ricky. Very strange. Oddly enough, the director mentions in that behind the scenes thing that he kind of regrets the scene with the kids. Like that's like one. He's
there
like,
you go.
yeah, if I did it again, I'd take it back, do a little different. And it's like, yeah, man, you really should have done it different. But I forget that's even in the movie half the time because all the other stuff is so fun and bonkers that the horrible stuff I forget about.
I have a question about the Judy kill.
Oh God.
Was she killed with a curling iron to the vagina?
Yeah.
Yes.
She was killed, and that did happen. I don't know that killed her. I don't know that would kill a person, but that certainly occurs.
She pops up in the sequel with a killer perm.
So bad. So bad. I'm like, and like in the scene, and this is just me watching it. And again, after all this happened, I just said, I'll forgive it. You're like the way it's shot, like her hands like shoot straight up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and just like it's like, okay, you can reach your head, and you can reach your crotch. Why are your hands straight up in the air? Right?
She was praying? I don't know.
I don't
Hardy
know,
does
and
the
I was
same
like-
thing, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's multiple where the hands are just kind of like kind of just tight muscle hands, the kind of gripping, but not really like fisting. I shouldn't have said that.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a fist.
Hmm.
Did they
But, like-
did they both accrue head injuries? Because watching
They're
football
like-
recently, there's a lot of hands in
Oh,
the air.
It is.
Yeah.
It is like that. It is like that.
That's not funny, but also like
but like
that's
kind of
kinda
like
funny.
claw hands, straight up in the air.
Yeah, fencing position or
It's just-
fencing posture.
Yes. Just very odd.
I don't know.
Odd
I don't
odd
like the
choice.
shadow of the curling iron because at one point it like opens up a little bit,
Yeah.
which is gross. It's all gross. That shouldn't be, but it's so like over the top that I guess it's forgivable. I don't know.
Oh, I can't wait to share this movie with someone.
I'm telling you, man. 7 days.
Yeah, but Dan, that curling iron is a very Sister of Ursula moment.
It is. It's and it all comes from that misinterpretation. We haven't talked about this in a while. Misinterpretation of the kill in The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, where a knife is presented in a phallic manner and then a woman's throat is slit. And then a series of giallo movies that followed, ripping off that formula but getting it wrong and thinking that instead of cutting her throat, that the knife had been inserted phallically. And then a series of movies that just like leaned into that in the 70s. Gross. And then Sleepaway Camp just takes it to the next level by having it be a curling iron. Ugh.
And doesn't Crystal Plumage actually play with sexuality too with the ending?
Quite a bit.
Because you don't see that
Quite
coming?
a bit. Quite a bit of sexuality in the... But again, it's in the Psycho chain, right? Like all of these go back to Hitchcock and Psycho. They take that one idea of like a, an affected, I think that's the most neutral word I can think of, an affected sexuality affecting then, violent behavior, and then just playing with different permutations of it from 1960 until forever.
I mean, it's all there. It's Meg's killer sexual nature. Mel, not so much.
And she's going to bang the guy that runs the camp. Like, are we okay with that? I'm not okay with that.
Why not?
I don't know. It's gross.
They sold it, though.
Yeah.
They sold it pretty
I
good.
mean, I
You
believed
believed
that
it?
it was happening. It made me feel gross.
I think that's the premise of this whole movie.
Yeah, just, hey, you want to feel gross for an hour and a half and then laugh at the end because it's so over the top? Yeah. Sleepaway Camp. So good. So good. What the fuck is this movie?
I'm gonna have to watch it one more time,
Yeah.
but then I'm probably gonna put it away.
But before you watch it, don't watch it again by yourself, because you're not doing yourself a service. Watch it with other people who don't know what you're getting them into. That is where the money is for this movie.
All right, so I'll sit down with Vienna and we'll watch it.
And then
In
maybe
20
watch
years.
Sleepaway Camp 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Starring
Maybe.
Bruce Springsteen's sister,
Correct.
which is just too weird not to mention every time I talk about that movie. And she's great in it, oddly enough. That movie's
She's wonderful.
fun.
Yeah.
So next week,
and what's
Sleepaway Camp Part 2.
And it's funny because Aunt Martha calls Angela an angel at the end of the film,
Mm.
and then Angela is actually called the Angel of Death in Sleepaway Camp 2.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun dun dun.
It's not bad. It's good. Sort of.
Sort of.
You can skip Sleepaway Camps 4 and 5, though. 2 and 3 are pretty fun. Beyond that, ugh. But Big Pussy shows up in one of them. That's weird.
Nice.
I'll wait for
That's right.
Sleepaway Camp 2018.
2018, yeah.
Sleepaway Camp
Believe-
kills and Sleepaway Camp ends.
Yeah, four is kind of iconic for a reason, but I heard it's terrible, so that reason's not worth it.
They're all worth a one watch, but don't buy them. Just stream them. But 2 and 3 are all right. 2 especially is pretty good. They're just way different. They don't. It no longer is a giallo. It is now a Freddy Krueger movie, and Freddy's a cute little girl who wants to kill people.
My fondest memory of this movie is the promotional, like the poster, that caught my eye. It was a kid walking with a backpack that had Freddy's hat, Jason's hockey mask, or no, Freddy's glove, Jason's hockey mask, and something else was in the backpack as they're walking through the woods. And I was like, which has nothing to do with this movie.
No.
But it was a good.
Yeah, that's the sequel.
Good.
Actually, that's number 2 that has that.
Oh, is that number 2?
Yep,
I
she's
just
got
remember
the
that
hockey
imagery.
mask and then the glove, and yeah, it's
Yeah, I was like, it's a Geico moment. They thought it out. They sold it.
My favorite part of this movie was when the police officer
Had a wardrobe malfunction.
finds Meg, the scene where Meg is slain, and it's so terrible, it's so horrible that
His mustache
that
falls
his
off.
mustache changes colors. That's my favorite.
His mustache becomes electrical tape.
That's my favorite part of this movie.
oh my gosh, it's
So good.
Yeah, he goes from like a Tom Selleck to like a Groucho Marx. What happened?
we talk about the iconic shots in some of these movies, and that mustache when it changes to obviously like a cheap stage production costume shop mustache, iconic mustache. Iconic.
So bad.
The crowd loves it.
The crowd loves it.
Though again,
look.
I'm not an expert on this matter.
This movie got like what? I think it's like a 6.2 on IMDb. As far as I'm concerned, it earned it. It really did. Because you can hate it as much as you want, but it's still effective, and you're still gonna laugh.
I think it's got like an 80 on Rotten Tomatoes. Or
I'm
an
sure.
84. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's effective. It does the thing. It does the thing. It may not
definitely
be
does.
Silence of the Lambs, but it's not Silence of the Lambs in a lot of ways. It delves
it's
in
so
that
not
same.
Silence.
It exists on the time. It belongs on this show because it exists on that same timeline, and that scatter chart with Psycho and Texas and Silence of the Lambs and all these movies that take that same Ed Gein kind of thing and then push it forward into different kind of permutations of the same idea.
Yeah. This one deviates enough to where it's like I wouldn't even make the parallel.
But you should.
between.
Now you will. Next time you
Well,
watch
yeah,
it,
you
you'll be
could,
like,
but it's like-
ah.
It's done well enough to where, like you're saying, they don't even touch on the Ed Gein-ness of it. Like it's more biologically and psychological. Like that the ant creates the character more than anything. It's
Absolutely.
not really. So to me, I didn't even make the. Although there is stories that Ed Gein was fine until his mother died. Then
Mhm.
he started doing weird shit.
And
So-
imagine at the end, it's basically just the untuck. So just put
Yeah.
Goodbye Horses over the final scene of this movie.
Wow.
Well, I like you referencing Texas Chainsaw Massacre because Leatherface wearing pretty girl mask.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
kind of what we have here.
Yeah. It belongs in the canon of our show.
There's definitely a reason why we watched it. I do agree. And there's not many movies like it.
And it's so
No,
fun
I
to
would-
show to new people. And to watch
I would
again
argue
in
this
big
is a
groups.
movie you have to see before you die. You have to. Even if you don't like it, you need to see it before you die.
It's a must-see.
Actually, we're just about to
100%.
announce our tour of the nursing homes where we show it to all the old people before they go.
Is anybody dying? Have you seen Sleepaway Camp yet? Line up on the left if you're
we should
terminal.
start a GoFundMe for that. we need to fund that project.
Our
Bring it to
It's
the
our
nonprofit.
special project.
We'll
It's
we'll,
like the opposite of like the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
we'll have Felicia Rose show up
We'll
at every place
we'll
and do the face.
show old sick people this before they die.
Who hasn't seen Sleepaway before you died? How many weeks do you have? Wow, I can't
That's
believe you said
terrible.
that. That's rough.
Oh my god.
Hands up. Who hasn't seen it? Yeah, success.
So onward and forward.
Onward and
Onward,
forward. Where do we go from
forward.
here? Travis, what are we doing next week?
What are we watching next week?
Well, we could go one way or the other. Which way do we want to go is the question.
I gave you 3 really good ways.
Yes, you did.
Let's go the other.
The other?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do the other.
All right. So I think that we are going to go down the road of another classic, cult classic, misunderstood,
Okay.
well received, not well received.
Okay.
Something we have talked about.
Okay.
It's a movie called
Showgirls.
Showgirls.
Ooh.
For real?
For reals.
Sweet.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
You
But
just
also-
can't hide it?
Conversely, I am so scared.
I'm afraid he's going to like it.
Showgirls is a movie.
It is a movie.
It is a movie.
Wow.
It's happening, guys. We're going to watch Showgirls.
It's going to happen.
Wow.
Although, should we tell him what the other alternative was? 'Cause
No, we'll
it's
save those for
probably-
later.
Give him a choice. Okay.
No, he doesn't get a choice. We're watching Showgirls.
No choice.
Oh my gosh. Guys, next week, Showgirls. This week, Aaron. Aaron, thank you for joining us on this show.
Thank you for having me. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yes.
And
Aaron, Sleepaway Camp super fan.
super fan. And never once did I get heated to where I had to say, "You done me wrong, Aaron." I didn't have to go there.
Thank
I
goodness.
was like, we're going to wind up arguing. I don't want to argue. Because I know how much he loves this movie. But I know how much I didn't love this movie.
Once you show it to other
but
people,
I like it more now.
You'll like it
Good.
more even.
Yeah.
It'll
No,
continue.
I do.
to grow.
After discussing it again, why I do this show is when I used to work at the movie theater, we would stand in the parking lot and talk about the movie we just watched. And sometimes you hated the movie, and then other people would talk about it, and you wind up liking it. So
Yeah.
I get it. Am
That's the
I going
thing.
to watch it all the time? No, but I definitely appreciate it more after the discussion.
Yeah, if anything, I just don't think this movie can be easily dismissed because there's a lot more going on than the surface, in my opinion.
I think for me, it hit me the same way Clerks did, where I get it. I get why people love it. I get why you guys love it. But there was just certain things where I just couldn't get past.
I'm with you on
And it's
that.
the same-
I'm not a Clerks
It's
fan.
actually the same things. Yeah, it's just the same exact things. Where if I had a chance to remake Sleepaway Camp, I might love it.
Front butt work.
It would be called Buttwork 2.
I would argue the acting in Clerks is worse than Sleepaway Camp. And I don't think I'd be wrong.
You might not be wrong. Some of the kids need to take at least one class.
I don't. Yeah, with Clerks, I don't know the acting in Clerks. I didn't mind it. I know, like Travis, like hated the back and forth, like just delivering lines back and forth.
The word is
like-
volley. I was
the
not
volley.
a fan of the volley.
Yeah, I was only because I don't know.
At least this movie didn't suffer from the monotone volley.
I like the monotone volley.
Yeah, like this movie, everybody was at 11.
I like the monotone volley. I feel like that's how people talk in the Northeast
Hmm.
a lot.
I do think it's interesting that we had a movie not directed by Kevin Smith that had the line, "This guy blows dead dogs."
And eat shit and live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eat shit and live, Bill. So good.
And how about the waterfront guy? He was awesome when he was throwing the water furniture all around the waterfront. He's like,
yep,
these
yep,
yeah.
peckerheads suck. How the hell did that get there? And then he calls Mega Peckerhead at the end of the movie.
Yes, he does.
Yeah,
Dude, Peckerhead is great. That needs to come back.
yeah.
Oh, and you know what? Hold on, before I forget, only Dan's going to understand this. Dan, Lenny, the other gay gentleman in the movie, he was a co-director of Champagne and Bullet.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Now there's
Yes,
a
yes,
movie
yes.
we should make George watch.
Oh, no, don't do it.
Oh. The shimmy slide, I think, would be the end of the show. We would just
They would hate you forever, and I wouldn't blame them.
shimmy slide our
Is
way
that-
right out of the show. And-
Is that before or after we watch Cruisin'?
Oh no, cruising is good.
Cruising's
Yeah.
awesome.
Champagne and Bullets is really bad, but it does have William Smith in it. I like him.
And
Oh God.
Who else?
Wings.
Oh, and Wings is in there too. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Wings Hauser, not a guy that we've had on the show yet, but he'll be here. We'll find a way. But not that movie, because that movie fucking sucks. And if I'm saying it sucks,
Yeah.
Yeah, then I'm not
Yeah.
going to watch it.
oh my God. We should totally, when you guys come to town, I'm going to have all of you come to my theater. We'll watch Champagne and Bullets together. The longest cut I can find.
Oh, please.
Oh my god.
So
Why?
good.
I mean,
So
those
good.
are two things that I enjoy thoroughly.
Yeah, and you won't anymore because you'll associate it
Why-
with this movie.
Yeah, why shouldn't I like that movie?
I'll send you a clip. You'll see why.
Okay,
Oh my
sounds
God.
good.
Listeners, jump on the Remedial Film Class Facebook group. Check out Aaron's fantastically worked out Primal Fear post from a few months back. Oh my God. We needed help and he brought the help we needed. Movie still sucks, but whatever. That's
He was
fine.
the hero we needed.
Yes, but
And
not
it's
the
kind
one
of
we
boring.
deserved.
Not the one we deserved.
So good. Guys, we'll have to have Aaron back sometime. Maybe for
Yes.
Champagne and Bullets.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
So around season 14.
Yes.
See you in 2030.
There's so many movies we haven't watched yet.
Well, whenever we get out to K6.
Next pandemic, I guess we'll do that movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah, let's coordinate it. Aaron, you hop in the car with these guys. Road trip.
I'm one state over. Let's do it.
That'd
Yeah.
be amazing.
drive up, check out Lake George,
Yeah, it's doable.
hop on the Minnehaha, and then swing over to Dan's house.
Let's get some Wawa first because we don't have that here, and it's delicious.
Oh, yeah, they're closing them down here, but we'll find one that's open.
Ugh.
All right. Well, I'm going to thank my listeners. Thanks, listeners.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. We'll be back next week with the much anticipated, teased for 18 months or more, Paul Verhoeven infamous classic. Yeah, the guy that directed RoboCop directed Showgirls. See you next week.